Hi, this is Reg Athwal, and welcome to another episode on Reg Athwal TV for the book video show. Are you married? Do you have a partner? This is all for you. In this copy here today, Rob Parsons' book, you can see here the back, really powerful. Take an hour to read a book that will change your marriage forever. Are affairs good for a marriage? Yes or no? How to deal with a partner who just won't talk things through, how to argue effectively, why men say my wife's not interested in sex, why cutting up your credit card in half can save your marriage, how a divorce will affect your children. It's packed with really good stuff. I don't know whether you're married. Having a successful relationship is not easy. I've just completed 26 years of marriage, anniversary early April this year. And every marriage has ups and downs. It's not perfect. You have to really work on it. Marriage after 10 years or 15 years or 20 years is not like it was when you first got married. So talking about the book, there's many things that you can pick up from the 60-minute marriage. It's full of great stories. It's worth picking up because I'm not going to be able to read the stories. It's not fair to read every part of a book. It's a quick read. It can take you less than 60 minutes to read this book, hence the title. But I will share with you a few golden nuggets from the book, a few things to get your mind popping, thinking about your marriage and how you can improve it. Now, some of us have been in lockdown around the world for 1 week, 2 weeks. Some of us are into 5 or 6 weeks into this crisis. So has your marriage become stronger as a result, or has it deteriorated? Is having more arguments? There's some people out there who can't wait to file for divorce by the time this whole lockdown is over. So what could you do to improve your marriage? So let me read a few things out. They are in every audience, but so often they believe they are alone. Although the media screams at them that this is common, although they know friends in similar circumstances, they still have this incredible sense of isolation. It whispers in your ear. Nobody could understand that alone you are, and your situation is alone, and it can't change. And so often it's that sense of isolation, that way we have so long worn the mask and said, oh fine, thanks, that eventually kills love, that makes it hard to find answers. Oh fine, thanks. And that's the end of our communication. So Rob Parsons here in this book is really talking about removing the mask. And continuing with that, he says, these are not easy issues. I know that better than most. I've spoken to over 100,000 people about marriage and cultures across the world. I received thousands of letters, many of which could have broken your heart. I have no illusions about the difficulties that we experience in our married lives, not least because my wife, Diane, and I have been married for over 25 years. And by the way, that was back in 1997. We have known difficult times, and there may be some tough ones ahead. None of us is immune. I have counseled those who have been physically, sexually, and mentally abused. For some of them, it had been necessary to leave their home in order to protect themselves and their children. And we know that's been on a rise as well, by the way, with this lockdown situation in some parts of the world. Carrying on. Nonetheless, I have observed that many marriages break up not because of large issues, but because of everyday pressures that build until they are unbearable. I've come to believe that marriages can be revolutionized by somebody speaking plainly about the traumas which hits many of us and breaking through the sense of isolation and make us feel this is just us. When that happens, it can have a dramatic effect. A woman wrote to me recently after one of our seminars and said, "Thank you for giving our children back their father." So that's just the start of the book. And then he carries on with a few stories as a build-up. He's got key takeaways from the book. And he really builds from there, talking about practical things that you can do to work on your marriage. One of the goals he talks about, goal number one, is to develop effective communication. This is what Rob says. We don't talk anymore. It was a warm September afternoon. It'd been a busy day in the law practice, and it was my last client. Just had refused to tell my secretary the nature of her problem, and as I offered her a coffee, I still had no idea. She looked composed and businesslike, but that may have not counted for much. I have long since given up trying to learn about clients and what they look like. I was cured of that 20 years ago, when on a Wednesday morning, a man I had sworn was homeless dumped £35,000 in cash on my desk and told me to be sure to complete the purchase of the property by the following Monday. How can I help you? I asked. I think my marriage is over. How long have you been married? 17 years. Do you have children? A boy of 13 and a girl of 10. Why is your relationship broken down so badly? He has made me an island. I'm sorry, would you repeat that? He has made me into an island. He will not talk to me about anything. In the early years of our marriage, we would spend hours talking together, but something has happened to him. It seems he can't talk to me. When he gets in, I ask him about his day, and I get the same grunt that I get from my teenager when I ask him how he got on at school that day. But it's deeper than that. We've had problems before, but we could always talk about them. Have you any idea what it is like to share your home, your body, your life with somebody who will not communicate with you? Eventually you die inside. Should we have gone on, but just that coffee arrived, and as I poured it, my mind went to another client who had sat in the same chair about 4 hours earlier. I knew Tom and his wife well, which made it harder for me to understand the man I saw in front of me that day. I had never thought him a very emotional person. He had risen to the top of his profession. He was in every sense a make-it-happen kind of person. He always looked assured, in control, and some said a little daunting. And yet, the second he walked into my office, I could see he had been crying. The note was crumpled and he had handed it to me as if it had a life of its own. The blue tack was still on the back where he had pulled it off the fridge door. It said, I need time to think. I've taken the kids with me. We'll be away for a couple of days. I'll be in touch soon. Love, Susan. I listened as he poured out his heart to me. He couldn't understand what the problem was. He had always provided for his family. They had a fine house, took frequent holidays, and he genuinely loved his wife. But the crumpled note was the only piece of paper he had brought. In trying to find out where his wife was, he had gone through the drawer and found a half-finished letter that had been written to a friend. Tom and I were so in love when we got married. It was nothing for us in those early days to sit and talk for hours. Even when we weren't speaking, there was a sense that we knew what the other was feeling. It's hard to know when we really grew apart. Tom's job became more and more demanding, and I had children to see to. It may have been that I gave them too much attention and he felt excluded, but looking back, I honestly feel I hadn't been speaking to them. I wouldn't have been talking to anybody. He comes home so tired he can hardly say hello, let alone tell me about his day or even pretend to be interested in mine. I hate it. I longed to speak to him. Sometimes after we had made love, I would for a moment believe he felt close to me as we lay there. I would begin to tell him so much of what I had been longing to say, but so often I shared my heart, I would realize that he was already asleep. And then a strange thing happened. I learned to live without him. Oh, and I washed his clothes and cooked and tried hard to be a wife to him, but instead I learned to live apart from him. It was as if something inside me said, You're on your own. For your sake and the kid's sake, face it and learn to live with it. Strong words, powerful words. You take whatever you can from that little story, and there's a lot more in the book to read. Action page, a few tips here. Try to have an evening once a week for just the two of you. Defend it with your life. Listen with your eyes. Take walks together more often. Don't confuse your partner's need for space with rejection. Another thing he talks about is to make more time for each other. Again, I'm not going to go through all of the stories. It's not fair for me to do that. You have to buy the book. But I will share a few things that he's got. The 60-second page is a nice summary. So often, it's that sense of isolation, the way we have so long worn the mask and said, "Oh, fine, thanks," that eventually kills love. The real killer is often hidden. They've simply stopped talking to each other. They've come... How come you can spend an hour on your phone to somebody from work and yet find it hard to talk to me for 5 minutes, she said. What many people crave is not somebody to talk to them, but somebody who can actually listen. There are marriages of 20 years, and in all that time, the partners have not had 20 minutes when they have sat in a quiet room and actually listened to each other. Although I was relatively successful, my family was slipping through my fingers. So that's like a quick summary page to get your mind popping there with what could be going on. Other areas to consider here is a nice quote, husband to wife. As they arrive at a party, one of them say to the other, don't try to stop me each time I say, stop if you've heard this. Action page, never go to sleep not talking. It may be a long night. Never bring your partner down in public, which is in relationship to the quote that I just gave. Be first to say sorry. Criticize less. Discover the power of praise. When was the last time that you praised your partner, whether it's privately or even in public, rather than ridicule them maybe? Action page, lose some arguments. Give your partner flowers when it's not their birthday or your anniversary. Have a television-free evening occasionally. When you get home, try to speak to your partner before doing anything else. So these are some really good little tips. Hopefully they can get you thinking. Some more here. Eat a meal by candlelight occasionally. Develop a pastime that you both enjoy. Before starting an argument, ask, is this really worth fighting over? Keep your promises. It may not always be right to stay together for the sake of the children, but it's still a good reason. Again, something to consider that a lot of people say, we're together just for the children. What impact can it have if you're not together and get divorced? What impact does it have on children these days? Again, there's no right or wrong here. Action page, take a trip down memory lane. I like this one. Have an evening with your old photographs. Revisit some of the places that were favourites when you first met. Try to laugh more often. And when your partner says, I love you, don't discuss it, just accept it. It's a really good book. I urge you to get a copy. I've highlighted a lot of stuff here already. Rob Parsons is the author. 60-minute marriage. Grab a copy, read it. Just to really summarize, in the book, he's got a whole bunch of goals. So he talks about to develop effective communication, to make time for each other, to survive conflict and how to do that, to accept what I can't change about each other, to be a ghostbuster, to stay sane as a parent, to believe in lovemaking, to deal with debt, to think twice for the sake of the children, and to dispel many illusions that are out there in marriage. I hope you enjoyed the book video, 60-minute marriage. Grab a copy, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the video, watch it again, leave your comments, and thanks for watching. We'll see you again in the near future. Bye.